Another day, another dollar. Yes, Lucille, please send in the first applicant. Yes, thank you. Yes, please have a seat. Have a seat. Now, I believe your name is Mrs. Amsel. Is that correct? Mrs. Amsel? Yes. Mrs. Amsel, your initial application was rejected and you filed an appeal. That's why you're here, correct? Okay. Okay. Yes. Mrs. Amsel, I'm going to ask you to please calm down. I understand that this is very stressful for you. A lot of individuals get rejection letters when they first apply. It doesn't mean that you're going to not be able to appeal. Obviously, you're here, so this is your opportunity. Oh yes, I do have to inform you that this session is being recorded. Well, Mrs. Amsel, all of these sessions are recorded. That's just the way it is. Now, if you would rather not participate, I can simply reject your appeal application. Well, yes, Mrs. Amsel, I'm afraid that's how it works. This is the procedure you need to go through in the appeals process. And part of that involves having all such sessions recorded. It's not just about you. Everyone who appeals a rejection notification has to go through the same process. Some don't like the fact that the appeals process is recorded. I can close out your case now, and that'll be the end of it if you don't want to be recorded. Now, would you like to continue with the session? Well, again, Mrs. Amsel, I'm going to have to ask you to calm down. Well, the reason is that I have to go through over 24 cases a day. Now, if you can show just cause or basically a good reason why your application should be reconsidered, well, this is your opportunity. Well, Mrs. Amsel, if you would rather not, then I can just close out your file. Well, no, Mrs. Amsel, you cannot reschedule. This is your opportunity. No, please continue. I'm listening. Well, Mrs. Amsel, that's neither here nor there. Well, Mrs. Amsel, the government has imposed forced sterility. The drug is in the water supply. Now, if you wish to stop drinking water, you'll be dead in approximately 3 to 4 days. So the drug that's in the water is still going to be in your system. It takes about 8 days. And quite frankly, you're not going to make it past 3 or 4. That's just human biology. Mrs. Amsel, the truth of the matter is, if you wish to deprive yourself of water in an attempt to no longer be sterile without the counteractive drug, well, that's your business. No, Mrs. Amsel, that sort of attitude towards human life existed back during the 21st century, not the 22nd. Yes. Mrs. Amsel, the truth of the matter is, with the possible exception of your husband and your family, no one really cares if you want to kill yourself by depriving yourself of water in an attempt to no longer be sterile without the counteractive drug. Now, you came here because you want a child. Your application was originally rejected. This is how the appeal process works. Now, if you want to be approved, you will be given the counteractive drug, which will give you approximately 1 week to become pregnant before it wears off. Now, again, if you want to deprive yourself of water in order to no longer be sterile, well, that's going to take more days than the human body can tolerate not being without water. So yes, you would die first, and quite frankly, a very horrible way. So it's up to you. Mrs. Amsel, that attitude is not going to get you a baby. It's not going to get you the drug that you need in order to not be sterile. Now, you know how this works. Well, hold on now. That is possibly a good reason for your decision to be appealed. I'm rather surprised that you didn't mention it in your initial application. Well, there's a reason why the application process is over 300 questions. We need to be thorough. All right, Mrs. Amsel, as I said, what you just told me could be grounds to have the rejection reversed. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to head upstairs. You're going to want to speak with someone in receiving. Yes. Well, Mrs. Amsel, I don't know why the government calls it receiving. That's just the name of the department. Speak with someone in receiving. Make sure to ask for someone with a rating of GG4 or higher. Don't speak with a GG1, a GG2, or a GG3. You're going to want someone ranked GG4 or higher. Speak with that individual. Tell them what you just told me regarding your family history. All right? Now, they will give you a form, FFF 678936. Yes, that's okay. I don't need to write that down for you. You don't need to write that down either. If you speak with a GG4 or higher, they know the exact form to hand you. Now, this form will contain only 170 questions. Make sure that you fill it out thoroughly, all right? And then you will have 3 days to bring it back. Yes. No. You have to fill it out, not your husband. You. Please do that, and then bring the form back to me. Yes. Well, that's one of the few reasons why we grant a reschedule hearing. Now, again, you're going to have 3 days to bring it back to me, but you have to head upstairs now. Yes. Thank you. Oh, and please tell my secretary that she can bring in the next individual. Yes, I'll be honest with you, I hate using the contactor to speak with my secretary in the next room, so please just tell her to bring in the next individual. Thank you. Have a nice day. Yes, Mr. Carter, I believe it is. Yes. So you're here on behalf of your wife? Okay. Mr. Carter, I'm going to stop you right there because it sounds as though you're trying to bribe me. Now, Mr. Carter, I realize that roughly 80 years ago, it was much easier to bribe government officials such as myself. That's no longer the case. Yes, well, ever since the government got rid of physical money and everything has been converted to electronic credits, which are carefully monitored by the Monitoring Bureau of Finance, the simple fact is you are not going to be able to bribe me because every transition from one account to another account is looked at thoroughly, first by computers and then by people in case there's an error. Now, you can use your wealth, you can use your credits to pay for a new electronic engine if yours catches on fire. That's not an issue. You can use your wealth to pay for a lot of things, sir, but you cannot use your wealth to bribe anyone. And because you cannot do that, I guess that levels the playing field, doesn't it? Because those who don't have money are not going to be able to bribe me or anyone else. So, you're going to want to think very clearly what your next words are going to be. Yes, sir, you have that right. You absolutely have the right to consult with a reproduction attorney and have him argue on your behalf, but you will have to start the process all over again, and that's going to take about 6 months. Well, quite frankly, you should be grateful because it used to be 2 years. We've gotten it down to 6 months. And just a bit of advice, sir. Don't try to pull this sort of thing again. Your money is literally no good here. You have yourself a good day. Yes, please close the door on your way out. Two individuals in, and I already need a break. Yeah, they just don't get it. Yeah. You need a license in order to braid hair for a living, and you need a license and a special drug if you want to get pregnant. I guess we're still supposed to be letting two idiots of opposite gender get together, create kids, and yeah, just do a garbage job raising them. Why don't people understand that is no longer socially acceptable? Yeah, I need a vacation.